This is a recitation of excerpts from Shinran's masterwork, the Kyoto Shinshu, or the True Teaching, Practice, and Realization of Pure Land Buddhism. Specifically, these excerpts are from Chapter 4, which is a collection of passages revealing the true realization of the Pure Land Way. To reveal with reverence the true realization, it is the wondrous state attained through Amida's perfect benefiting of others. It is the ultimate fruition of supreme nirvana. It arises from the vow of necessary attainment of nirvana, also known as the vow of realization of great nirvana. When foolish beings, possessed of blind passions, the multitudes caught in birth and death and defiled by evil karma, realize the mind and practice that Amida directs to them for their going forth, they immediately join the truly settled of the Mahayana. Because they dwell among the truly settled, they necessarily attain nirvana. To necessarily attain nirvana is to attain eternal bliss. Eternal bliss is ultimate tranquility. Tranquility is supreme nirvana. Supreme nirvana is uncreated Dharma body. Uncreated Dharma body is true reality. True reality is Dharma nature. Dharma nature is suchness. Suchness is oneness. Amida Tathagata comes forth from suchness and manifests various bodies, fulfilled, accommodated, and transformed. The vow of necessary attainment of nirvana is stated in the larger sutra. Quote, "If, when I attain Buddhahood, the human beings and devas in my land do not dwell among the settled and necessarily attain nirvana, may I not attain the supreme enlightenment." The Sutra of the Tathagata of Immeasurable Life states, quote, "If, when I become Buddha, the sentient beings in my land do not decidedly attain the equal of perfect enlightenment, so that they realize great nirvana, may I not attain enlightenment." The passage declaring the fulfillment of this vow in the larger sutra states, quote, "The sentient beings born in that land all dwell among the truly settled, for in that Buddha land there is not one who is falsely settled or not settled." Further it states, that Buddha land is pure and tranquil, wondrous and delightful. It is not apart from the enlightenment of uncreated nirvana. The Sravakas, Bodhisattvas, Devas, and human beings there all possess lofty and brilliant wisdom. Their transcendent powers are thoroughly realized. They are all of a single kind with no distinction in appearance. The words, quote, "human beings" and devas are used simply in accordance with usage elsewhere. Their countenances are dignified and wonderful, are not those of human beings or devas. All receive the body of naturalness or of emptiness, the body of boundlessness. Further, the Sutra of the Tathagata of Immeasurable Life states, "All the sentient beings of that land and those to be born there are brought to thorough fulfillment of supreme enlightenment and reach the abode of nirvana." Why is this? Because those who are falsely settled or not settled cannot comprehend the Buddha's intent in establishing the cause of birth there. Vasubandhu's treatise on the Pure Land states, quote, "Concerning the fulfillment of the adornment of the virtue of wondrous sound, the Gatha states, quote, "The land's pure sound deeply enlightens beings far and wide. Subtle and wondrous, it is heard throughout the 10 quarters. Why is this inconceivable? The sutra declares, quote, "Those who, simply hearing the purity and happiness of that land, earnestly desire to be born there, and those who attain birth immediately enter the stage of the truly settled." This shows that the land's very name performs the Buddha's work of saving others. How can this be conceived? Concerning the fulfillment of the adornment of the virtue of the Lord, the Gaitha states, Amida, the perfectly enlightened, being Dharma king, makes the Pure Land abide and sustains it with his good. Why is this inconceivable? Amida, the perfectly enlightened, surpasses conceivability. The Pure Land of happiness is sustained by the power of the good of Amida, the perfectly enlightened. Why is this inconceivable? In this world of miscellaneous modes of births, whether beings are born from womb, egg, or moisture, or by sudden metamorphosis, their fellow beings are numerous, and these fellow beings experience pain and pleasure in myriad variations because of their diverse karmas. In that land of happiness, every single being is born transformed from the pure lotus of Amida Tathagata's perfect enlightenment. They are the same in practicing the Nembutsu and follow no other way. This extends even to this world, so that all Nembutsu practicers within the 4 seas are brothers and sisters. Tao Cho, his passages on the land of happiness state, quote, "The majestic powers of the 2 Buddhas, Amida and Sakyamuni, are equal. Sakyamuni Tathagata, however, speaks not of his own capacities, but purposely reveals Amida's excellence. This from his desire that every single sentient being be equally brought to take refuge in Amida. Hence, in various sutras, Sakyamuni praises and leads beings to take refuge in Amida. We must recognize this to be the Buddha's intent." The commentary of the Master Shan Tao states, concerning the, quote, "universal vow," it is as set forth in the larger sutra. The attainment of birth of all foolish beings, whether good or evil, is always, without exception, being carried out by the karmic power of Amida Buddha's great vow and accepting it as the decisive cause. Further, the Buddha's innermost intent is vast and profound. Hence, his teachings are difficult to grasp. It cannot be fathomed by the 3 classes of the wise or the 10 classes of sages. Much less, then, can it be fathomed by us, petty, foolish beings who have not reached even the stage of understanding. How should we know its significance? As I reverently reflect, I see that Sakyamuni exhorts us on this shore, and that Amida from that land comes to welcome us. From there we are beckoned to, from here we are urged on. How could we refuse to go? Just earnestly devote yourself to this Dharma, with life's very limit as the end, and abandoning completely this defiled existence, immediately realize the eternal bliss of Dharma nature. The city of bliss, tranquil and uncreated in the West, is ultimately free and peaceful, far removed from being and non-being. Great compassion imbues the heart, so that one sports in the Dharma realm. Transforming oneself into various bodies, one benefits all beings equally, without discrimination. Manifesting transcendent powers, one teaches the Dharma. Realizing Buddha's features and marks, one enters nirvana without residue. Miraculously created adornments are manifested at will. Those sentient beings who see them have all their karmic evil swept away. In this chapter of the Kyoto Shinshu, Shinran's conclusion as to the aspect of going forth states, "As I contemplate the teaching, practice, Shinjin, and realization of the true essence of the Pure Land Way, I see that they are the benefit that the Tathagata directs to us in his great compassion. Therefore, whether with regard to the cause or to the fruition, there is nothing whatever that has not been fulfilled through Amida Tathagata's directing of virtue to beings out of his pure vow mind. Because the cause is pure, the fruit is also pure. Reflect on this." With regard to the aspect of return to this world, Shinran states, "Second is Amida's directing of virtue for our return to this world. This is the benefit we receive, the state of benefiting and guiding others. It arises from the vow of necessary attainment of the rank of succession to Buddhahood, also known as the vow of succession to Buddhahood after one lifetime. It may further be called, quote, the vow of directing virtue for our return to this world." Vasubandhu's treatise on the Pure Land states, "Concerning the gate of emergence, with great compassion one observes all sentient beings in pain and affliction, and, assuming various transformed bodies to guide them, enters the gardens of birth and death and the forests of blind passions. Freely sporting there with transcendent powers, one attains the state of teaching and guiding. This is brought about by the directing of virtue through the power of the primal vow." Tan Luan's commentary on the treatise states, quote, "Directing virtue for return to this world means that after being born in that land, fulfilling samatha and vipassana, and gaining the power of compassionate means, one returns and enters the thick forests of birth and death, teaches and guides all sentient beings, and brings all to enter the Buddha way together. Whether with regard to the aspect for going forth or the aspect for return, all is entirely for the sake of bringing sentient beings across the ocean of birth and death. Thus it is stated, quote, it is to fulfill the mind of great compassion, taking the directing of virtue as foremost." This is like Avalokiteshvara's manifestation in various forms presented in the Lotus Sutra. It means being free and unrestricted. The action is free of the slightest hesitation and is performed as if in play. It means that in saving, one perceives no object of salvation. The Bodhisattva, in observing sentient beings, sees that in the final analysis they are non-existent. Although he saves countless sentient beings, in reality there is not a single sentient being who realizes nirvana. Manifesting the act of saving sentient beings is thus like play. The great Bodhisattva, having realized Dharma body, always dwells in samadhi, and thus manifests various bodies, various transcendent powers, and various ways of teaching the Dharma. All of this arises from the power of the primal vow. So in this chapter on realization, Shinran concludes as follows. Thus we know truly from the words of the great sage that realization of supreme nirvana is brought about by the directing of virtue through the vow's power. Benefiting in the aspect of return expresses the true intent of benefiting others. Accordingly, the author of the treatise, Vasubandhu, proclaims the vast and unhindered mind that is single, thereby universally awakening the multitudes of this passion-defiled world of endurance. Master Tan Luan clarifies Amida's compassionate directing of virtue for our going to the Pure Land and our return to this world, and he widely teaches, with care and concern, the profound significance of benefited by the other and of benefiting others. Reverently embrace these words. Receive them in deep homage. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Nam Myo Butsu.